Hey guys, so today we're going to LRD chapter 6, okay? So the title is called I Become Supreme Lord of the Bathroom. Well, we know that Percy is at Camp Half-Blood, okay? That's where the setting is taking place. It's where the story is happening at the moment. So Percy is taken on a tour of the camp by his Latin teacher. We know that his Latin teacher, Mr. Brunner, has another identity as Chiron. Remember, he is the centaur, the half-horse, half-human, okay? Well, Percy becomes uncomfortable as he's walking around the camp because he notices that others treat him differently. And Chiron tells Percy about Mr. D. Remember, yesterday we learned that Mr. D was the god of grapes and wine. We learn more about Grover in this chapter. This is at the beginning of the chapter. I want you to look for Grover's dream, okay? So then Chiron continues showing Percy around the campus. And he talks about Olympus. Olympus is the place where all of the gods live. It's called Mount Olympus, and it's mentioned several times in this chapter as Chiron is showing Percy around. Well, Chiron also tells Percy that the camp has an armory. This is a place where all of the weapons are stored. And Percy thinks to himself, and he says, well, what kind of camp has an armory? And we hear words and we read words like a javelin range and an amphitheater and an arena and spear fights. And Percy has no idea what kind of place he's come to. He says that this is not like any other camp that he's seen before or that he is familiar with. So as Chiron and Percy are walking through, Percy describes each of the cabins. There are 12 cabins, one for each god. So each god has his or her own cabin, and it's specifically made just for them. So Chiron tells Percy that he will be a teacher as long as he is needed on their journey throughout the camp. Well, Percy and Chiron finally make it to cabin 11, and this is Percy's cabin. Well, they notice that no other kids are in that cabin. Percy is the only one in that cabin. And he notices that a lot of the other kids look suspicious because of his cabin 11. Mrs. Dodds comes up again in this chapter. It seems like she just keeps coming back up every time you turn around. And there's also mention of Percy's father, and we learn about his father and some information about him. And they also talk about Percy's diagnosis with ADHD. Okay, and then we find out specifically why Percy is a half-blood. Lastly, this chapter ends with a conflict with a new character that we meet named Clarice. Clarice is from cabin 5, and she is the daughter of Ares. And Ares is the god of war. Clarice and Percy get into a conflict at the end of the chapter, and it has something to do with the title. And you're only reading the first part of the chapter today, so I'm going to tell you what happens in the bathroom. Clarice comes in picking on Percy, and she's kind of the bully of the camp. Okay, well, Percy gets so frustrated at Clarice that water shoots out of the toilet and soaks Clarice, and she starts running out of the bathroom. Percy has no idea how he controlled that water, and this gives us a hint as to who Percy's father is. So I want you to read what happens at the very beginning of the chapter. You're only reading the assigned pages on the board today. So happy reading.